So hello everyone. Hi guys. So today we are going to discuss this unit 55 PPB module D, and the topic name is banking ethics and changing dynamics, right? So this is banking ethics and changing dynamic 55th unit of PPB module D. So let's start discussing this chapter. First of all, let's talk about the ethics and technology, right? So, when we are talking about the banking sector, right? So, over the past decade, over the 10 years, past 10 year, we have seen that banks and different financial services have witnessed a lot of improvement in terms of information technology. There have been advanced technology which has been introducing day by day in the banking system, and this advanced technologies and this advanced information technology help in giving better customer experience to the customer of the bank, right? And when we are talking about the IT, in IT, if we talk about the information technology, they are actually using two things, right? Communication connectivity and business process re-engineering, right? So communication, so for communicating with their different customers, right? For giving them the communication of the financial services, we have seen that there are a lot of technological advancement which has been introduced in order to have a business process re-engineering means improving the core management, improving the performance of the organization by just redesigning the core process. So what is the main process, what is the core management? When we redesign that core management in order to have a better management, in order to have a better organization performance, then it is called as business process reengineering. And in both the thing, communication and business process reengineering, banking have seen a lot of technological improvement and technological changes, right? Now, these technological improvements and changes have done three major functions of the bank. First of all, the access of liquidity is now easier. Every customer can have the liquidity in a more advanced and better way. Okay. Like, for example, if any customer want to just withdraw the money, they can just now withdraw within seconds. They can just transfer from one bank account to another bank account, just transfer to any of the sellers like vegetable vendors. Anywhere you can just use this banking and financial services in seconds and in simple way, right? So in this way we have the access of liquidity in a very good way. We can just transform our asset, we can just convert our asset, we can just utilize the assets of the bank, and the bank can monitor the risk in a better way, because if the technology is there, we know that with the advanced technology comes with the risk also, right? So monitoring of the risk is also done in a better way. When we are talking about the IT has changed significantly by the way organization is communicating and maintaining the relationship with internal as well as external customer. When we are talking about the information technology, nowadays IT has been used by the bank for maintaining a very good communication either with the external customer or your internal employees as well, right? So we have a proper software based working area so that every employee is connected with each other within seconds, and that's the same thing we are experiencing with the customer. Okay, with the advanced technology, now the bank is connecting with the customer in a better and in a easy way, and this help in building the customer relationship management. Customer relationship management, when we are talking about this particular term, customer relationship management is actually the relationship with the which the banker is building with the customer, right? And with the introduction of technology, with the advanced technologies, with the AIs and intelligence and personalized and cost effective financial services, this customer relation management is actually done in a better and efficient manner, right? Now, when we are talking about the role of ethics in technology, we know that technology has nowadays is made the life of different individual easier, but yes, we have we have to implement ethics in technology as well. Because when the technology is there, means the bank has collection and the storage of lot of customers data, everything, customers spending criteria, their transactions detail, their debits, their credits, their personal informations, their verifications. Bank has collected and stored a lot of customer data with themselves, and this is the primary obligation of the bank, that you have to prevent any type of data leakage and data misuse, because data nowadays is considered as a digital gold. Yes or no? Because when, if we talk about the data, data is everything nowadays. Banks are selling data, some banks are even selling your data to the third party vendors so that they can just earn money. Data are nowadays everything, because when the data is transferred, then that particular organization or that particular app can earn and give you the better services according to your personalization, right? So, when we are talking about the primary responsibility, primary obligation of the bank is to actually prevent this data leakage and data misuse. Okay. And customers should be assured that their data are handled in a very secured and confidential manner. Okay. There should be a proper IT department in a bank so that every staff, every banker is monitored carefully. Every system is monitored carefully so that the bank cannot so that you can just prevent the leakage of any type of data easily, right? So data leakage, we know that unethical, periodical training should be done. Okay, so as a manager, as a bank manager, you should properly do the periodic training to your employees, and telling them that yes, the data leakage is unethical and the guilty employee should have to serve the cost of this data leakage. So when you are imposing restrictions, when you are imposing the training, okay, when you are monitoring, okay, when you are maintaining the data and information of the customer in a secured and confidential manner, all these helps to prevent the data leakage and data misuse in a bank. And we have already discussed these two terms, fintech and regtech, financial technology and regulatory technology. Regulatory technology is actually a software which is used for the better decision making in the organization. Whereas fintech means when we include technology in giving financial services to the customer. So these are the two type of advanced technology which has been nowadays used in a bank, okay, to help serving the customer in a better way. And when we are talking about the technology, introduction of the technology means the you can say there are lot of obligations, there are lot of risk involved in the technology, and as a banker we have to eliminate that particular risk from the technology. Clear? Now, when we are talking about the data securities, first of all, to define and implement the procedure to ensure integrity and consistency of all the data electronic form. So first, as a bank, you should have the database, you have the data warehouse, you have the data archives, right? First of all, you should have a proper defined procedure so that you can just ensure the consistency and integrity of the data which is stored in an electronic form. Because if you are not maintaining the integrity, no employee can trust the data of that particular archive. Why? Because anyone can do the changes. If anyone can do the changes, we cannot trust the data. So to maintain the trust in the data, to have the proper actual data, we have to ensure that there are rules and procedures for ensuring the integrity and consistency of all the data which are stored in the electronic form, right? Then what? Then we have to ensure that the uniform data protection is there within the organization and outside the organization. Uniform data protection, when we are talking about the uniform data protection, the policies and the rules should be same within and outside the institution. There should be a proper physical and logical controls. Okay, both type of controls we have to take care while maintaining the data security. Physical control, like for example, if you have stored the data in some physical format, like you have shelves and you have proper papers, you have to protect that particular shelves and room from environmental damage like fire, floods, or anything. And when we are talking about the logical control, like you should have a proper password, keypads, biometrics, okay, to prevent it logically also. Okay, then bank need appropriate disposal procedure for both electronic and paper based media. So as a bank, you have to maintain the record of the transaction for at least 5 years, right? You have to maintain the record of the customer also for at least 5 years after ending that bank customer relationship. After that, bank need to sort their data, bank need to destroy some data, add on some data. So when you are destroying some data, okay, when we are destroying any type of data in a bank, right, then what, bank should use a proper way that how to destroy that data appropriately. Because if you not, as a banker, if you not have disposed this data appropriately, then obviously it can have the loss in the bank also. Anyone can misuse the data. For example, when we are disposing any type of data, right, our personal information is written, we just do what, we just torn every bit of that paper. Why? Because no one can see the address, no one can see our personal information. In the same way, it is expected from the bank that when you have to dispose any data, when you have to delete any data, you should have a proper procedure for that also. Okay, so that that particular disposal data should not be misused by anyone, right? So these are the type of data security as a banker you have to follow. Okay, as a banker you have to just follow all these procedure for maintaining the data security. Like you have to implement a proper and procedures to ensure integrity and consistency. You should have a proper uniform data protection, right? You should have physical and logical control over the storage of media. You should have a proper disposal procedures also. You should have to maintain the record securities also, right? So these are the different ways in which the data security can be done. Okay, now next thing, when we are talking about the data privacy, now data privacy has these five things. Okay, data privacy has these five things which has been suggested by B.N. Sri Krishna committee. So there was a committee which has been introduced in 2018. Okay, and this committee was headed by B.N. Sri Krishna, and they actually defined the seven principle of data protection law. So we have seven principle of data protection law. Now this is very important. First of all, which committee has given the seven principle of data protection law, right? And what are data protections law? What are the seven principle of data protection law? First of all is the technology agnosticism. Now, technology agnosticism is what? According to Sri Krishna Committee, whatever the data protection laws which are formed, it should be flexible to include the changing technologies. See, because when we are formulating any law, law is not something we are changing every month, right? If a law is made, that is not changed for a very long period of time. Okay, so, the law which you are making for the data protection should be so flexible that if there is any technology changes that is happening, okay, that data protection law can be adjustable according to the changing technology. Because every every week, every 30-20 days, we are experiencing new technology, okay, new updates in the technology, right? And laws cannot be updated in every 10 to 20 days. No, it is not possible. So the data protection law should adapt the changes which are coming in the technology. That is called as technology agnosticism. That is the first principle of the data protection law. Second principle is data minimization. Now, what is a data minimization? Data minimization is that you, as a bank, you have to sort and minimize the data as it is necessary. You don't have to secure each and every data in bank. You don't have to maintain the piles and piles of data in a bank. No, the data should be sorted, the data should be processed, the data should be minimum as necessary. Okay, and you have to destroy all the unnecessary data. That is called as data minimization, the second principle. Third principle is the consent. Okay, so consent should be there when you are, as a banker, there is a need that you have to share the information of a particular customer with anyone else when there is a need, right? Like for example, in open banking, the bank is sharing data with any third party vendor so that that particular app will provide the customer the services according to their own personalization, right? So consent is very important. Every time you decide to share the data of the customer, you have to take the consent, right? So that is the data protection law. Fourth is accountability. Whoever is in the control of that particular data, that particular person should be accountable, right, towards the management. Penalties for wrongful processing. If there is any staff which found guilty, right, there should be penalty which are imposed on that particular person. Enforcement of data protection. So whatever the data protection law is made, it should be enforced throughout the organization. So these are the seven things on which there is a data protection law which is based on. So technology agnosticism, okay, data minimization, informed consent, accountability, penalties, and enforcement of data. Okay, and this is the data protection principles, which is based on Sri Krishna report. Okay, clear? Done. Now next. Now this is the important part of this chapter. That is intellectual property rights, patents, and property right. Right now, these are the three words which we need to understand. Intellectual property. Now, what is an intellectual property? Intellect means your intelligence, right? Intellectual property means when you have created any asset by using your own innovation, by using your own creativity, that is called your intellectual property. For example, I have written a song. Okay, so that song is actually written by me. That is my creativity. So that is my intellectual property. I have painted something. That painting is my intellectual property, right? So what you have created with your own innovation, with your own creativity, that is called as intellectual property, right? Intellectual property can be some artistic work, it can be some symbols, it can be some innovative work, right? So these are all included under the intellectual property. Okay. And when you are creating any type of intellectual property, you want to secure that intellectual property from any unauthorized use, right? So intellectual properties are divided into two type of category. First is the patent and second is the copyright. Now patent is given for any type of inventions you have done. So if you have used your creativity for doing any invention, you have some trademark, you have some industrial designs and secret, you have some geographical indications, right? For securing that type of intellectual property, patents is the word which is used. Whereas copyrights are for artistic work. You can say when you have written some poem, you have some directed any film, you have some music, artistic work, architectural design. For these things, copyright word is used. And for this thing, that patent's work is used, right? Now, when we are talking about the intellectual property right, intellectual property right is actually a right. It actually a formal mechanism in which you can just protect any unauthorized use of your intellectual property, right? So intellectual property right is actually a formal mechanism which actually gives you, allows the creator that you can just prohibit this particular use of the asset from any third party. If I have written any poem, I want to have a intellectual property right on that poem so that that poem cannot be utilized by anyone else in his or her name, right? So for protecting my asset, for protecting my work, I should have a formal mechanism, and that is called as intellectual property. That is called as what? Intellectual property, right? Okay. Patent. Now patent is the exclusive right granted for an invention. If you have invented something, if you have written something, you have some artistic work for which you want to prohibit third party use, then it is the intellectual property right. But if you have invented something, if you have a trade secret, you have invented something, now you want that this invention should be limited for your use only. You want to prohibit the use of this particular asset from any third party. So for this prohibition, there is a patent. So patent is an exclusive right which is given for an invention so that everyone cannot use that particular asset. And always remember, patent is not for unlimited time period. Patent is for limited time period. Generally, it is given for 20 years for the invention, right? So that is intellectual property. For securing the use of intellectual property, we have intellectual property, right? And then we have the patents. Okay. Now, the last thing of this particular chapter is the ethics which are utilized in information security, right? So what are the ethics needed? What are the security, information security, which needs attention? First of all, employee must be aware of their professional obligations. So what are your professional obligation towards the information security? Employees are aware of that, and when the employees made aware of that particular thing, ethics evolved internally, right? Now, advising, you advise your employees that how to just prevent any type of cybercrime, making the employees aware of the pattern on how these attackers attack, because every day attackers are coming with a new type of attacks. So when you are making your employees aware the pattern of the attack, then obviously they just prevent any type of attack. Okay, so that is the ethics in the information security, right? So this is a short chapter. Okay, as it is the last chapter of PPB, so it is a short chapter, and this is the complete chapter. Okay, everyone.